and that was $440, which I did feel was a bit of a rip-off. That he said to me was, I used to own this car, so I thought I may as well put it for 10 and I'll see what people do. G'day guys, welcome to a bit of a different episode today, as I am not in the normal shed, instead we're in our second shed. So we've all read the title by now, and yes, it's true, I have sold my Patrol. The Patrol that I spent about a year's worth of work on, I got it on the road, and now I've given it to someone else. So I thought I might just have a little bit more of a sit down episode and just talk you through, actually I got a list of here what to talk through. We want to go through how much it costs, what did I learn, who did I sell it to? Now there's a big story behind that, which I think you should stick around to the end to find out, because that's quite funny. And the big question is, how much did I sell it for? So I want to be as transparent as possible. Typically you don't get told these sort of things, but I thought I might as well. So without further ado, let's begin. So on July 31st, 2024, I was browsing on Mannheim Auctions. It's one of the largest auction houses here in Australia, between Pickles and Grays, I think. They would be the top three. So I was browsing through there, as I always do. Like, I spend, honestly, every day, about equal time Marketplace and Mannheim Auctions, just to see if I could find anything. Because I wanted my first project car, which was to teach me all the typical skills that I would need to work on my car and be familiar with my car and to be able to repair it by myself. Because at this point I hadn't worked on anything mechanically, more or less. Like, I serviced my Alpha, but that was it. So yes, July 31st, I was scrolling through and I found that there was this red 1985 Nissan Patrol. I was looking for some sort of short wheelbase Patrol because I have a really weird and particular likes and dislikes in four-wheel drives. So I wanted a shorty. I knew that much, whether that was a Land Cruiser, Bundy, or a shorty. Now this MK came up and I was looking for a GQ, but I'd been looking for a while. So I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I started texting Cameron, I remember, being like, oh, is this good? Is this what I want? Because once again, remember, I didn't really know much, and Cameron was, and still kind of is, my go-to for things. And I'm not sure if I have screenshots, but I remember him like, yes, that's awesome, get that, that's so sick. So I was like, okay. And I started bidding, and it was between me and this other person. I think I started out at like 500, 700, and then it kept on going up until I put in a final bid of $950, and then I wrote it out, which you'll see what happened with this video right here.
I'm like nervous, I've never like bought a car before. This is it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy days. I think I won it.
So yeah, I was pretty ecstatic. I was a little bit confused as well as what to do, because I've never bought a car from auction either. So for the price of $925, that Patrol is now mine. But of course there is admin fees, online deposit fees, like every other made up fee and tax just to get the price up there, which means that the total cost from Mannheim, like how much they got from me, was $1,140.61, which I then got towed from Mannheim just to Dad's place, who's nearby-ish, and that was like 100 or like 200 bucks or something, which I forgot to add to this. And the first thing that we knew that we would have to do straight off the bat was a new set of suspension. And I looked online, and for $1,116.95, I could get a new set of leafs, dampers, and bushings all around. So basically, I bought a set of suspension for how much I paid for the car. So yeah, now we're sitting at around the $2,300 mark. And I also bought some shackles for it. Not sure if it was the front or the back shackles, I don't remember, but yeah, I bought some shackles, and that was like 60 bucks, I think. So now we had our new suspension, but we didn't really know anything about the condition of the engine or the oil or anything. So the first thing that we did was go to Supercheap and Repco and get a full service kit essentially from them, which cost me around $300 for engine oil, diff oil, gearbox oil, transfer case oil, which we did forget about to do, and then all the filters, just so we knew that we had a good starting point and that I wasn't going to run bad oil in anything. Because at this point it was still up in Newcastle and I had to get it back here to Goulburn. Well, the Goulburn area. So to get it back there, it was unregistered, so I was going to get an unregistered vehicle permit, which I did do, but I had to fix some issues. So I had to get some new back taillights because they just refused to work. And I think that was about it. Everything else seemed to work except for the alternator. The alternator wasn't alternating, which if you saw that video, you know that. So I had to drive all the way back there. It's like 4 hours or so. 2 weeks later, with the taillights, so I got delivered, install them, get the permit, and then get Cameron to drive it home. So at that point, it was finally home and in our shed, and that's where I would stay for a good 9 months practically. Now, because I didn't actually live in the area, I was up at Wollongong at that point, and whenever I was free and not working, I was coming down here to try and work on it. But it was a bit difficult to really do because it's a couple hour trip. It's like an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back, and I wanted to be able to get stuck into it, so I wanted more than just like half a day to be able to work on it, because it just wasn't worth it. So I found it difficult to get more than like 2 days off, which when I had 2 days, I would go down. But yeah, so it was a very slow progress. But anyway, this is what we achieved during that point in time when I lived in Wollongong. I bought the wrong locks for it. I bought GQ locks, which look the same. They just have a different sized steering wheel shaft diameter, so the lock didn't go on. So that was $38, but then I got the right ones, which included the tailgate lock and the fuel lock for $100, which was worth it, but annoying. eBay taillights, I told you, $74. In total, I spent around $400 on color match paint, generic red paint, primer, body filler, and all that stuff. And, sorry, a polishing kit, because it was on sale. I think it was like $150 or something, maybe like that. Given the condition of the paint, like, yeah, it was a waste of money, but I wanted to see what it does and what it was like, and kind of for a video. But now I have all that stuff in the shed. So yeah, $400 on paint and polish stuff. Now that includes going to Supercheap to get color match paint. I told them the correct code. I made sure I was correct, and typically it wasn't really correct. Like, it was very magenta compared to the rest of the body panel. And I found that the red gloss generic spray gave a closer overall look. So it was a bit of like a mix mash between all of it. I wasn't very happy with it, but at the same time, you couldn't really do a good job unless you start again by sanding down the whole car, filling out the gaps, and I wasn't doing that. I was just trying to cover up the rust parts that we did. So it worked. But it was very obvious when it was clean, so just keep your car dirty. Next, I spent like $50 just for one big sheet of gal from Bunnings, I think it was, and that covered us for everything, all the replacement parts. Then we got the GQ alternator, so I spent a lot of time troubleshooting why the alternator wasn't alternating, and because they were externally regulated at that point, or modern cars are now internally regulated, and it's just such a better process. So I was just tackling that, trying to make it work, and ended up just talking to people on Facebook, and they said, yeah, just buy a GQ alternator, bypass it, and it works. And so I did. I did take the alternator off and on like 5 times, and that was so annoying. Just trying to get the angle, get in there, reach it, put the vacuum stuff on the back, take that on and off, right size, trying not to strip it. It was so sick of it, but glad I didn't have to touch that again because that was annoying. So yeah. And that was an 80 amp one from eBay for $150. Next, sound deadening. Now a big part of this build was to try and work out what makes a modern car feel so nice to drive and why it's better, or makes it better. And I worked it out that, it's mainly the isolation from outside, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Now to start things off, the stage 1, I think they call it, is the rubber butyl mats. Now everyone goes for car builders, but Cameron used a product from a company called Underdog. Well, it's actually called Stop Heat and Sound, but it's Underdog sound deadening. And what I found that it's a little bit thicker than the car builder stuff, and it's like half the price or something like that. It was like $60 a roll as opposed to $100. And I've felt both car builders and Underdog, and it's the same thing. So do not go and waste your money on the car builder stuff, because the Underdog stuff did the exact same thing for a lot cheaper. So I think I used about 3 rolls of that stuff, and that was good. And the next was just some closed cell foam, and that should absorb any more sound. And I don't remember how many I got, but I got a good couple of boxes of them, but they were more expensive than the rubber butyl, which brings me up to around $400 for all the sound deadening stuff. And that I would do again in a heartbeat. It made everything feel more premium and a lot nicer ride. I got some guard indicators because they just didn't want to work. I had to get a new windscreen installed because Cameron and I broke it taking it out, and that was $440 with the rubber included, which I did feel was a bit of a rip-off, but is what it is. Get the guarantee of someone else installing it, so if they break it. When I began trying to troubleshoot the whine that was coming from the area, I was trying to work out like what's normal, what's tolerable, and a lot of people said, make sure that the gear shift boot wasn't broken, and sure enough, mine was. So I looked around, and the only way to solve it was spending $144 from a guy in like the Philippines or something, which got there in like 5 days. So that was pretty cool, very quick shipping. So yeah, $144 on new boots, and it didn't really help. It helped a little bit, but not too much. Central locking kit, you saw the video, $20. Oh, that was so good. I loved it. New gauge cluster. So the original gauge cluster didn't work and was broken and had, yeah, it was not working. It was a massive hole where one of the gauges used to be. So the only way to do that was to buy a new one, which I got from Queensland for $138. And that was just from a wrecker. On the odometer that I bought it with, it was on 424, I think. And this gauge cluster, which I bought, was on like 320. And I tried to wind it forward. On the old one, I pulled apart just to see if I can make it accurate, because I want it to be accurate and I don't want to lie, just because I want to be able to sleep at night. And I just couldn't make it work without breaking things, so I just put it on there and say to the new owner, add 100,000 kilometers to it, and that's how much it's on. But he already knew how much had on it, which I'll get into later. Coolant bottle, the old overflow coolant bottle had cracked and turned into basically an apple crumble, but just a lot more plasticky, so that obviously wouldn't pass. Then the clutch. So when I was pulling apart the gearbox and the transfer case to try and sort out that wine, I thought I may as well do the clutch because I knew the throwout bearing was bad. So new clutch, spent like $160 and that was the wrong size. Sent it back, got the new one, $350, but I got a refund of like $140. So yeah, $350 on a brand new clutch. Epic. And then we've got the secondhand transfer case, which I think was like $100. Which I forgot to add on this too. So add $100 to the total. All right, and at that point, everything was done. I've removed all the rust, I'd made sure all the indicators worked, and all the electrical wiring functioned as it should. So now it was time to finally get it on the road. So how much does it cost to get it on the road? So for a blue slip, it was $80. The green slip, which is your non-negotiable insurance if you run into someone else from NRMA under my name as a 20-year-old, was $537. And then 12-month Rego was $862, which brings the total to $6,549. Roughly give or take. I think there was a few more things, so it was just under $7,000, which I don't know how it went from $1,000 to $7,000. Like, I look at the list and I'm like, that doesn't add up to 7, but it does. But even though I knew I wasn't going to make much, if not any money from it at all, I was still very happy with it, and I'll explain to you why. Because prior to this project, I had no experience with welding, grinding, using any power tools realistically. I had no experience on that. Cameron asked me to pick up the grinder and grind out something. I was, you know, when you see someone pick up something for the first time and it's just like holding it in a weird way and they're like scared of it. That was me. And still, to a degree, sometimes I am a bit like that. But now, because I've gone through and Cameron's showed me how to weld, how to grind, and how to use a drill properly, I have a lot more confidence now too. Well, I have confidence now to go pick up things in the shed when he's not there, when no one's around, know what to do, know how to hold it, and just feel like I know what I'm doing. Even using the Rivnut gun, like I did that myself. And just pulling things apart, like I pulled apart a transmission and transfer case and did a clutch with zero experience and basically zero help. Like, granted, it did take me like 2 weeks or a week or something. It completely ruined these shirts and now it smells like grease constantly. But I can say that I've pulled apart and replaced a clutch on probably one of the most difficult old vehicles to work on, because that stupid cross member. Oh, I absolutely hated it, but I just couldn't give up, because what else am I supposed to do? It was my project car. Nice shovel there, sir. And before I tell you how much I sold it for, I want to tell you who I sold it to and why. Why did I sell it? So we did the first camping trip and that was awesome and I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was good to be able to confidently drive off-road and give it a little bit of mechanical abuse. Not that we really did anything, but just feel the confidence in how mechanical it felt. And then I got back and then, you know, life gets in the way. I was starting to run low on money because, you know, moved back here, didn't find a job. So I was just using my funds from selling the Alpha. And then I was slowly running out of money. So I needed to find a job. So there would have been a lot of just driving in and out of town and a lot of normal stuff. And compared to Ella's Corolla Hybrid, it is the nicest thing to drive. Like, I love driving that Corolla. It's so nice. It makes it a lot more enjoyable and pleasant. Like, yeah, like with all project and old cars, you have your nice daily car and then you have your weekender car, which is just loud and obnoxious and fun to drive, but not as enjoyable. Maybe that's the right word. And I was just thinking to myself, like, yeah, I've finished up what I wanted to do with this, which was get it on the road, drive it for a little bit. Maybe I should try something different, because I wasn't quite happy with it. It still felt very unrefined, just with like the issues with the glow plugs, which I could have solved. But so then I finally made a decision that, hey, I'm going to move on to something else. And a week or so ago, I had some leftover photos and I chucked it up on Marketplace, and I put it up for 10 grand. I had no idea how much to put it up for, because 440 or 20,000 Ks, don't know anything about the history of it. Paintwork isn't that great, but it's been replaced, but it's got 12 months rego, or 10 at that point, and it seemed to run and drive fine. So it was a lot of ups and downs, and the petrol ones, people were trying to sell that for like 6, 7, 8. So I thought I may as well put it for 10 and I'll see what people do. Now, instantly I got a lot of message asking to swap for old motorbikes or broken Ford Rangers, which behind me right there is a 2013 BT50, which is the same as the Ford Ranger, which was broken, that we've now fixed. And we bought that for 3.5 grand. So essentially they were trying to swap me 3.5 grand for my 10 grand car. Yeah, so I got a lot of offers, which is fine. You know, people got to shoot their shot. But I had this guy from this town message me saying, hey, are you free on Wednesday? I was like, yeah, I'm free on Wednesday. And he was like, cool, can I come have a look at it? I'm like, sure. He's like, awesome, I'll message you after work when I'm on my way. What's the address? That was our conversation. Like, he didn't ask anything about it. He just was like, when are you free? I want to come look at it. Didn't mention anything about price. So I was like, oh, I might actually get 10 grand from it. So a bit of stuffing around, and eventually he gets here. And the first thing that he said to me was, I used to own this car. So in 2020, he owned the car. He did all the repairs. So remember the tech screwed roof? He did that. And then he ended up selling it to someone in Newcastle. And then that person in Newcastle put it up in auction, and then I bought it and bought it back to Goulburn. And originally it's from Canberra. So he bought it from Canberra, I think, messed around with it, did some awesome trips with it, sold it for $2,000 to someone in Newcastle, because he sold it with around 420,000 Ks on it. And I bought it with 424,000 Ks, or something around that. Which means that fella bought it for 2 grand, put like 4,000 Ks on it, the leaf snapped, he then put it up for auction. I bought it for $925, which he got. I then drove it back to Goulburn, spent a year repairing it, and now that fella bought it back off me, which was just the craziest coincidence. And Cameron and I half knew him, like we knew his friend that was also there, so we all kind of knew each other. But it's just crazy to think that somehow, through this massive coincidence, that he saw it on Facebook Marketplace and said to his friend, like, no way is this my car. And he looked at the number plate and checked the VINs and stuff, and yeah, sure enough it was. Which is just a crazy story. So when he asked if I would take 8, I've just straight off the bat just said yes. Like, I didn't want to go back and forward with him, because he sold it for 2. And now he's buying it back for 8. And I was pretty happy with 8. Like, so I made $1,000 profit, but it took me a year of every second weekend coming down, putting hours of work in. So it doesn't really line up into like hours work, but I was happy to even make money off this. So that means I spent $7,000 to get on the road. I sold it for $8,000, made $1,000 profit. Profit. It's just a cool, epic story, which I have a photo of when he had it, which I'll show up on the screen now. So that's the best photo really they can get. Oh, that's him taking it for 4-wheel drive trips. And he also showed me a photo of the Starlight roof, which is what they called all the holes in the roof before they replaced it with the tech screwed one. Like, it was just awesome to see. It was so cool to be able to give it back to the original owner. And I should still be able to see it driving around town, which is just even better. So, what is next? Like, I don't have a car. I sold the Alpha. I sold the Patrol. I need a car to get to work. And of course, I need a 4-wheel drive, because I want to start getting out there and actually making proper travel videos with Ella. So up there, just in the meantime, we bought a 2013 BT50 with a blown head gasket, which we then spent 3 days to do the head gasket. Modern cars, we hated it, but we did it. And that's what I'm driving for now. Like, it's a 2-wheel drive dual cab ute. It's just to get me from work and back. It's not my full drive. But that leads me on to, what am I getting next? What's the next project for me? And there is 2 train of thoughts here. Either A, I can go a Land Rover Defender, like they've got a good engine, which I really like. They're mechanically injected, which means they're friendly to, how do I put this? We're good friends with the local fish and chip shop, which means it has to be mechanically injected. They get good economy, decent power, similar to a TD42, and they just looked pretty cool and unique, which is one important thing to me, is just something that looks a little bit different that people would look at as they drive past. And I'll get that in a single cab 110 ute. So tray back, I'd make a custom tray, probably a build bar, do all that stuff. And that would cost me around the over $10,000. Like I nearly pulled the trigger on a $11,000 one, but that one didn't have the aircon, which if I'm gonna spend money on a daily car, I'm gonna have an aircon. So that's option one, a Defender. They're cool, they're unique, they're robust. Well, that engine is at least, and they're very fuel economic for what it is. Or I can go get a more modern car, say a D-Max. And why did I choose probably a D-Max out of all the modern cars? Well, I didn't want to choose the BT50s or the Rangers because those engines are shite. I don't like the look of Tritons, and I wanted it to be as simple as a modern engine gets. And that led me to the 4J rabbit hole, and all 4J owners are claiming that their engine's the best, whatever. And they seem to be a good platform. Obviously they have their own issues like every engine, but they seem to be a good platform with plenty of parts. So that's option number two, is a 2012 to 2015 D-Max. I would get it in a space cab because there's just more room to do things. Or option three, which I've just remembered, was to buy a GQ Shorty, because that was the original plan, because Cameron's had like 3 of them and they're a lot more refined, which was my issue with the MK. But then you have the issue of using 14 litres per 100, which makes doing trips a little bit more difficult when you're trying to budget for that. But we are good friends with the fish and chip shop, so. So those are my 3 options right now. And they're all around the same price where it's like 12 grand. Defender with like 300,000 Ks, a D-Max with 300,000 Ks, or a Patrol with a TD42 with around 400,000 Ks. And I don't know which one to do. Any help by dropping a comment down below would be greatly appreciated, what you think, or if you have any other ideas, but I want something either unique, or if it's not unique and it's modern, it has to be typically reliable. I might even buy an automatic at that point. I won't even know myself. So if you made it this far, thank you for sitting back and watching this. I need to go help Cameron do something for a different video, which you'll soon see and be as confused as I am about these purchases. If you want to see me do more videos, like the video, subscribe, and do all that YouTube shit. But for now, let's go help Cameron. So yeah, goodbye Patrol.